Hello, my name is Shehab, and I'm going to talk to you about a 7-step process for how you would go about collecting requirements for your project. First, let's talk about what a requirement is. A requirement is either a condition or a capability that is required from you by a stakeholder for a specific project. So when we talk about conditions, we might mean contractual terms, obligations, compliance requirements, timeframes, or budgets, or policies that you need to comply with. When we talk about capabilities, these could be features that your stakeholders need. So something like it must be blue, or it must be 8 feet high, or it must run at a certain speed. These are capabilities that your solution needs to have. So it's either going to be a condition or it's going to be a capability. Okay, the first step is understand the need. Your first goal is to first meet with the sponsor or whoever's asking you for this and understand what is their need. What is the outcome that they're looking for? Can you put some numbers against that outcome? Do you have all the specifics? Do you know how many people will be impacted by this? Do you know why they want this? What sorts of performance are they looking to get out of this? That kind of clarity early on in the project will ensure that you're on the right track. So assuming you're able to get a business need, then the next step that you want to do here is find out your limitations or your constraints. So ask yourself, what are my constraints? How much time do I have? So time is one of those. Money is another one of these. Resources, and there could be some other constraints like rules and policies and regulations. So ask yourself, what are the constraints that I have, and put a plan, and you're going to put a plan to deliver within that time frame or within that budget. So basically, if I have a critical need and I'm coming to you, you're the business analyst, and I'm asking you to get something done that we're looking to roll out in 3 months, then your business analysis process definitely can't take that long, can't take 3 months. You probably want to take about a month, month and a half, because you got to consider there's an implementation process. Somebody's got to go and code this, and then they got to build the system, and then they got to test it. So you have a very limited time frame to work with, and that time frame, you need to understand it. All right, so assuming you know what your constraints are, then you need to go to the third step. Do I know what I need to know? So what does this mean? Let's say you ask me to implement SharePoint across the organization, or maybe you ask me to convert all of our printing into some centralized printing solution. My question to myself would be, what does this take? Do I know the technology? Do I know how many people? Do I know the location? Do I know how much? Do I know what specific functionality you're looking for? Do I know the volume of work that is going to go through the system? So those questions that I have in mind are going to be answered by specific people or certain documentation. So in this third step, you want to know everything that is still missing for information. So now what you're going to do is create a list that says, item number 1 that I need to know is how many people will use this solution. Item number 2, how much are they willing to spend, which was probably covered in step number 2 here in the constraints. Item number 3, for example, the location. Item number 4, are there any rules that I need to follow? Item number 5, what systems are in place right now that will need to be replaced by the new system. So you will need to figure out, you need to make a list of all the things that you need to figure out for this solution. So assuming you figured out all the items that you need clarification on, then you go to step number 4. Who or what can provide me this information? And the who would be people. These would be your stakeholders in the organization. Could be business managers, department heads, could be your colleagues, could be the admins who are going to be using the solution. So now you know there are certain pieces of information that you need to collect. Let's say you needed to collect informations A, B, C, D, and E. The question is, who provides me the information for A? Who provides me the information for B? And if it's not who, then what? It is probably a document. It is probably something that is published on the internet, or maybe it's a supplier that you need to get in touch with who can provide you such information. So here what you want to do is you want to connect who, which is a person, with the information that you need to collect. Or if it's not a who, it's probably going to be a document, a database, or some form of documented information, whether it's digital or in paper, or it could be from a supplier. But what will provide you the information? So between the who's and the what's, you should be able to figure out the sources of where the information is going to come from. All right, so if you figured the who and the what, then you go to the fifth step. And in the fifth step would be, how will I collect the information? Now the how, those are requirements gathering techniques. And these techniques would vary depending on what it is that you need to collect. So step number 5 will be the techniques that you will use in collecting requirements. Interviews, workshops, focus groups, and you could also go to the what, which is, document review and research, market research, benchmarking. You could reach out to suppliers, ask for manuals, review them. These are all the whats and the who's. You could also do prototyping. You could do brainstorming sessions, and there's quite a few techniques. So what you need to do now is come up with a plan, not a plan, but a list, or identify against every requirement what technique you're going to use. And let's just say I have a requirement. Requirement 1, for example, number of users that will be using this system. So that's my first requirement, right? And I figured IT manager is going to be the person that provides that information. Then the next step would be, how do I get this information from them? So now we have an interview. All right. So if I want to link them, that's your step number 3. That's your step number 4. That's your step number 5 there. All right. Now, this same IT manager is most likely going to be providing you more than this information. So number of users is one thing, but the same IT manager probably is going to provide you information on the technology behind it or the interfaces required. So let's say your other requirement here is, so that's requirement number 2, interfaces, and you figured that it's also going to be the IT manager. And now the best way to get this information could be in, let's say, an interview, but it also could be a document review where you have to review some document with this IT manager. So now you know that if you're going to be meeting with this IT manager, that you probably don't want to just talk about number of users. You probably want to discuss the interfaces. So you would plan ahead and let this IT manager know that you're going to also review some documents in case they can get this ready for you. So here we see that some of these users needs the users and their time that you have to plan out in advance. Who am I going to meet for which points? And you're trying to minimize the annoyances or the number of meetings that you're going to have. A lot of these users, and especially senior management, doesn't want to be troubled every single moment. You can't call them today and talk about number of users, call them tomorrow and talk about interfaces, and then on the third day or 1 week later, call them and say, hey, I forgot this. And do you have a couple of minutes to discuss this? Not everyone's gonna be cool with that. So what you wanna do is figure out for every requirement, who or what is going to provide you this information. Take a look at them and figure the best technique from available techniques or well-known techniques that you would use to minimize the time frame for collecting the requirements. Mind you, with regards to time frame, you also have to consider step number 2, constraints. You may have a limited time for you to get this done, and if you are really tight on time, then workshops might work much better than interviews, because you can just bring everybody there into a 2 or 4 hour workshop with some snacks, and you can just sort things out. If you have a lot more time, then yeah, interviews will probably be a good option for you to do. All right, so figure out how you're going to collect this information using the techniques, and then once you figured all the techniques that you want to use, now go to step number 6, which is when will I collect info? And that would be your schedule. So you're going to develop some sort of a schedule, and that you can just put at the top here. So if I want to figure here that, let's say I planned for Monday at 9 a.m. That's step number 6 for me. I figured Monday at 9 a.m. I'm going to do an interview and review some documents with the IT manager to understand these key points. Does that make sense? So here, step number 3, number of users is a requirement. And step number 4, this is who's going to provide it. And step number 5, this is how I'm going to get this information using that technique. Step number 6 is when I'm going to get that information. So when you develop the schedule, as I previously discussed, you probably want to plan out the best timing or duration or techniques that will minimize the number of interactions that you're going to have with these stakeholders so that they don't get bothered by what you're doing. So now, let's say you've developed a schedule. Monday at 9 a.m., Tuesday at this time, Tuesday in the afternoon, I'll meet this guy, or we will have this kind of a workshop. Then the next step that you want to do is ask yourself, what will I need to collect info? And in this step, what I mean is people or tools. So here I'm just going to write people or team and tools. So you have to ask yourself, is this something that I can do by myself? Do I need a team? Do I need someone to help me? For the time frame for step number 2, where I have limited time or limited money, what can I afford for people? Would I be able to do this myself? By looking at the schedule, if it looks like you need 3 months to get something done and your management's pushing for something to be done in 1 month, then obviously you're going to need some help. And agreeing to do this by yourself would be just, suicide. You're just trying to, you're leading yourself to failure, and you don't want to do this. You're trying hard, and for that, you need to ask for all the support. Now, if you're able to get these people, the team and the tools, you can go ahead and implement your plan. You can just go to implementation at this point. So just to recap, you first get a need from your senior management. They ask you to find a solution, a brand new solution, or a replacement or an enhancement for something that you have in place. The first thing you want to do is meet with them, understand the need, try to frame that need with numbers, whether it's a problem or an opportunity. Find out what the constraints are, which is step number 2, time, money, people, resources, location. Find out what it is that they've put for boundaries for you. And then step number 3, ask yourself, what do I need to know for me to get this done? And this could be pieces of information or gaps in the information. Once you know that, ask yourself, who will provide you this information, or what is the document that will provide you this information? If you can figure that, then go to the next step, which is, how would I collect this information? And this could mean figuring out different techniques that would work for different instances and different pieces of information. Then schedule time to go and collect this information through interviews, brainstorming sessions, workshops, prototyping sessions, or maybe by doing benchmarking and market research. And then once you develop the schedule, if you're trying to make it fit within a specific time frame, then ask yourself if you will need additional team members or if you need specific tools to speed this up. Once you have this kind of support, whether it's team, tools, or support from your management, then your plan is ready, and you should be able to put this on paper, well scheduled, with all the activities that will happen, with all the people that will support you, and a clear understanding of what the requirements are that you need to collect from specific people that would help address the need. At that point, you're ready to implement. I hope you enjoyed this 7-step process for how you collect requirements. And if you have any comments, please put your notes down below. And if you like what you've heard and you'd like to hear more from me, please subscribe. And if you feel someone else could benefit from this, please share with them. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon on my next video.